There was a lot of things, but I think it was when I just kept coming home and there was nothing I could do about how bad the day was. It wasn't something I could control anymore. Like there's bad days where you get behind and it's because you just like didn't have the energy to go like your normal speed. But I couldn't do it anymore. I was coming home crying and just absolutely miserable. But luckily, the local hospital had a community pharmacy that needed a per diem position. And I had applied for it, I don't know, 5 or 6 times and never got an interview. I applied with the resume that Anne helped me make. I got an interview and I got hired the next day for the per diem position. Hey. From the program itself, my husband even had noticed that just my confidence had gone up, like in myself, but he constantly was just like, your confidence has gone up a lot since you started this. I'm so glad you did this. I'm so glad, like constantly. Even when I was like, is this even worth it? He's like, yes, keep doing it. So, I mean, he's my right-hand man. Like, I don't really do anything without his encouragement, and for him to be like, that was great. I'm so glad you did it. Like, that's also a very good sign. When I had to write my resume, and I'm getting emotional just thinking back to it. I had to write my resume, and putting down on paper everything I had accomplished felt absolutely impossible. I felt that Walgreens had fully succeeded in making me a very dispensable pharmacist. Like, they could dump me at any moment and find someone identical to me just whenever they wanted. And it was so hard to think about everything I had done in pharmacy school to be unique, to be different, feel like I've accomplished nothing. And I remember Anne being like, you are valuable. See, I'm getting emotional. She gave me the best pep talk and made me feel like I was valuable again. And so that was very life-changing, because putting together a resume that I was proud of was the hardest part. Like, but it worked. The new resume worked and it helped. You know, I did network. And one of the jobs that I was networking really hard for got back to me about 2 weeks after I accepted this job. And it was like, if I had to rank them, they were like this job and the other job, they were neck and neck. And they just got back to me too late. And I remember telling my husband, I was like, Mark, I just had to tell the other dream job that I already had a job. And like, that's wild to me. I think about it sometimes and I'm like, would I still be at Walgreens? Would I still be here? My husband says, no, you wouldn't still be at Walgreens. But I think it would have been a hard sell if I didn't have, at least a month under my belt of talking with Anne and reading the book and realizing what I was experiencing was something. Like, it wasn't just, mental health. It's also it's something else too. And it was worth it. And there's that, the guarantee, like, if you do everything and you don't have a job after a year, like, you can get your money back. Like, that sold me on it. I was like, oh, great, perfect. So if I screw this up and I do everything right, and I still don't have a job, at least I can get some money back. But in my head, I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, they wouldn't offer that guarantee if that's what happened. That what do you have to lose? Right now, you're probably in retail, and it's probably even worse than when I left it in December, with all of the questions about boosters and all of that. What do you have to lose? Like, do you want to spend another day, another month, another year doing this? Because I didn't. And people are probably thinking like, oh, well, I could just use any career coaching. The fact that Anne was a pharmacist made such a huge difference. I didn't have to, explain what a residency was and why I didn't want to go back and do it. I had a very nice therapist who was like, why don't you change careers completely? And I was like, that's not really realistic, but I appreciate your insight, but I'm paying you and I don't have enough time to explain why that's not a realistic option. So that really made a huge difference, just having someone to talk to who knew everything. Like, not even my husband can understand residencies and all the intricacies of all that nonsense. And at one point I was like so mad at myself that I hadn't done a residency. And I bet you there's people too who are in pharmacy and they're like, I can't do this because I don't have a residency. And in college I was like slated to go do residency, but I was like, this all sounds awful. You have all this retail experience, you have all this experience of being a pharmacist, but also, a patient advocate and all these other wonderful things that people learn in residency. You can transfer those skills. That was invaluable. I'll be able to use that forever, regardless if I stay at this job for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. I'll be able to show what I learned there and transfer it somewhere else. That was amazing, having someone who knew what I was talking about. It made it so much easier to look at what realistically my options were.